Welcome everyone to VRML Day 2. Go ahead and hop right into voice channel. It'll be me and Trip Nip who will be casting. Let me hop right in. Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello.
Hey, how you
Alright.
doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I just got murdered by Sporks, so I just came to make fun of him for this entire match.
I understand. It's very easy to make fun of Sporks, so we'll have a good time. We're actually, to begin making fun of him, we're actually waiting on him on joining the lobby. I'm gonna go and see what's going on. Oh, right when I was about to click enter, he's in. Alright, I'll go ahead and start the match as soon as everyone's ready up. You also have to ready up, by the way.
Oh, I do. You are right.
Alright, we're good to go. So the first map will be Sternberg. Similar to previous matches for this week, all the maps are the same in VRML week 1. This map is a 2-lane, pretty basic map. Short, scary, spooky. It's at night. And we'll see how both players handle this.
Yeah, from my previous experience with Sporks, he just kind of waits. He plays a really good long game, and when everything it looks like it's going your way, it's most definitely not.
Yeah, Sporks is pretty much enamored with this character. He is playing Gallon. He always, I've actually never seen him play anything else but Gallon. And we have Heathen, who's playing my personal favorite, Nichols, the U.S. Air Division. So already we have Heathen with a single fire, just getting some extra boost on the infantry in both lanes, but Sporks is responding with a defensive fighter.
Yeah, I didn't play a whole lot of air game against Gallon, but I think he can counter it pretty well if he stays on top of it.
Oh yeah, Gallon, I mean, he's not obviously an air division, but he has some pretty interesting air units. He's got the dive bomber, which is very good against ground. Would be very good if he had it unlocked at this point to easily take out this artillery that's taking out the mid tower already, more than half health. The dive bomber is as exactly as it says, it's a very risky unit because if it gets near any ground AA, it will die pretty much right away, but it will take out artillery in one hit.
His lone fighter here from Sporks is not able to fight off all three of these fighters from Heathen.
Yeah, interesting thing about the U.S. Air or I guess all air divisions is it's a lot cheaper, as we said, to buy planes for both Ritter and Heathen playing the Nichols. So whenever Sporks has to invest into anti-air, well, I guess he is getting ground AA. That's a little bit better for him until Heathen does get some higher tier units. But yeah, early in the game, it was like about $8 for Sporks to buy fighters, where it was only $6 for Heathen. So there's already a bit of a nest loss if Sporks wastes his fighters right away.
Yeah, and that doesn't sound like a big difference, but when your max is $30, then it is a much bigger difference in terms of total overall percentage.
Yep, exactly. He then tried to have a nice sneaky spot with an artillery, but Sporks did reply with a single tank, just rushing up to it. Takes only 2 tank blasts to take on artillery if it gets close enough. As well as we were talking about net gains and net losses, Sporks does get the first crate drop on the map. He just sent a single motorcycle. A very common strategy is just as soon as you see where it go, just pop that thing out of your spawn and go straight for it.
And there we see the P-38 Lightning coming out. A little bit more anti-ground aerial assault.
Yep, definitely my favorite unit in the game. Very satisfying to use. It does Did it go down? Yep, it did go down. With some defensive fighters. So a lot of people, they think the best way to counter the P-38 is with some ground AA, but in my experience, no. Actually going straight with the fighters, maybe a mixture of ground AA as well, will take out the P-38. It was a very good defense from Sporks having those fighters near his tanks, and now these 3 tanks are pretty much unopposed. There's no defensive artillery, anything. This tower probably will go down. There is no really quick response that Heathen can do. I think he is probably going to be saving up money for another P-38. And
Yep, there it is. It's like you know what's going to happen before it happens.
Yep, as I said, me and Heathen are like 2 of the most air superiority players of this game. We both love to play Nichols and Ritter, and we play each other all the time. Very long, grueling games usually, but we pretty much can pretty much read each other what we're gonna do next. Forks is still sending out massive tanks. He's not even worried about any dive bombers, any tank destroyers, and with just purely the tanks and the support from a couple fighters and 0 ground A, he's able to get in the base with tanks already.
Yeah, Heathen playing an air support or an air division does not have air superiority right now.
Yeah, I'm curious if Heathen, this might be the game already. I don't know what Heathen could do. He's strafing a fighter to try to push back on the infantry a little bit. It might work. He did successfully defend this base. There is a couple tanks, and he does have another P-38 out. So as long as he's careful and watches that defensive fighter by Sporks, then he should be able to defend this base pretty easily. Not to mention, he also has the base or the ground AA hovering around his base. He doesn't have in a very good spot, I would say. I would put more in the middle toward the outside of his base to give him a little bit more coverage. What is this fighter doing right here? That's... But yeah, it's just a constant uphill battle from Heathen from this point on.
Troop transport comes out. He's dropping troops in, getting a little more spawn, but that's not really going to help against the tanks. He needs to get some heavier weapons out onto the lanes.
If my observer is a little bugged. Some parts are. I do see the P-38 flying, but there's a fire in midair, and I don't see any troop. Oh, there. Okay, there we go. It's back to normal. All right. Yep. So the troop transport spawned some very strong infantry. Very good. It's pretty much Nichols' main reliability into pushing lanes. He is able to push that right lane out, and troop transports, when they start stacking and they start spawning infantry, even tanks will eventually go down by them. Maybe not this many tanks though. We are seeing Sports just continually sending out masses of tank. That looks like a P-38's dream. So as soon as Heathen sees this mass of tanks coming down this lane, I'm sure he's gonna send that P-38 right for them. So we're gonna go and see if that does happen. Speaking of Heathen, he also, I think, got the crate drop. Oh god, there it is. That P-38 wiped out every single one of them. So if we do some quick math here, 7 times 5, 35. So Sporks just lost a lot, and Heathen, I don't even think did he lose the free? He did lose the P-38.
No, he did not.
Oh, he did?
It's in the back.
Oh, so okay. So yeah, that is a net game for Heathen. 35 gold plus the crate drop. The second one of this game will be, he's ahead 55 gold in the last minute when you think of it that way. So Heathen might actually come back from this game. He will be able to ball up these troop transports eventually, and he's got 2 of them now, and you'll start seeing them very quickly push these lanes out as hard as he can. Sporks is just trying his best to push out with tanks. We're still not seeing any tank destroyers or anything high level from the Gallon division, or any infantry for that matter. We're just seeing a couple troop trucks at his base. He just keeps sending out tanks for pretty much P-38 fodder at this point.
I think he's using him as bait. He's trying to protect him with his planes.
Yeah,
trying to pick off that P-38.
It's definitely a plan, but I don't know. I mean, this just allows Heathen to make more troop planes, and the longer the game goes on, I do believe that Heathen will have a better chance of pulling it out. Speaking of pulling it out, let's see who pulls out the crate that is dropping right now. It looks pretty close. Sporks almost got it with a tank, but the P-38 is very good at defending the crates due to their anti-ground presence. Heathen does have a Jeep by it, but doesn't notice that he hasn't gotten it yet.
Looks like he did get it on my side.
I think my observer mode is bugging out like crazy.
So did you say that the troop transport troops are stronger? Are they better infantry than just standard infantry?
Yeah, the troop planes actually spawn, I believe, almost double the health of the basic troop truck infantry, and they do a little bit more damage than the troop truck infantry as well. So they are better in the long run, and just the fact that it's a lot harder to kill troop transports means they will be most likely to create more units over time. There is definitely some bugs going on my observer mode. What the heck is going on here?
I see 3 P-38s and 3 troop transports out right now. So that air superiority has finally kicked in.
Yeah, interesting. Heathen goes so Heathen does a little bit things differently. He Whereas I usually have 1 or 2 P-38s max, he seems to value the P-38s more than the troop planes. I usually value the troop planes a little bit more. At this point, I'd probably have 2 more troop planes than 2 more P-38s than he has. But you can already see uh, the troop plane infantry is making its way to Sporks' base and is actually taking out this tower with just purely the machine guns from the infantry.
It looks like Sporks has been pushed back all the way to his base on both sides now.
Yep, that is true. Sporks did get a little bit of a breath of fresh air. He got the crate with the motorcycle, so at least he will have that at this point. Finally, we see that I believe the first tank destroyer of the game. Sporks has one defensively in his base. It's pretty good. Heathen has a couple tanks heading that direction, but he is trying to keep it behind the barriers because the tank destroyers usually cannot shoot through barriers.
Yeah,
Nice.
once Sporks got those tank destroyers out for me, that was the end. That was the beginning of the end right there.
Oh yeah, they are definitely a strong unit, one of the most scariest units in the game. Not as scary for Nichols because of the fact that Nichols just dominates the air more so than the ground. However, using the tank destroyers defensively will help him in the long run because even though Nichols does have the air. What were you gonna say?
2 base attacks going off at the same time,
Oh really? Oh crud!
directly onto each other's bases.
All right. Again, my observer mode is super bugged this game, but yeah, I did see the damage take a chunk out of Heathen's base health, and as I was saying, using a tank destroyer more defensively against the Nichols is pretty good, purely because um, usually as Nichols, you can try having all the air superiority you want, but unless you have a little bit of ground units pushing, you generally will not be able to take that base. I think Sporks is just gonna go for the last ditch efforts here, and try his best to take out the base slowly with I guess base nukes, or it's just super delayed. I think what's happening.
Another base nuke right there.
Another one. All right. Yep. All right. So there's just a weird delay slash early thing on my observer mode. We'll have to send the output log to devs, but I think Sporks' last hope here, and he's realizing it, is he just needs to keep sending.
I mean, his base is still at full health, so he has a lot of cheese left.
Oh yeah, he definitely has a lot of time. I know Heathen. He won't get mad at me for saying this, but he does feel sometimes he has trouble finishing games, especially as Nichols. So this might be Sporks' time to shine because of this issue that he sometimes has. And that is another base nuke on my screen, at least.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Well, I think there's just a delay of what's actually happening on my screen, which is bizarre. But are there Heathen's tanks inside of Spork's base for you?
Yes, they are just crashed in, took out the tower, and they are shooting directly at Sporks' base.
All right, so this is actually the dream for a Nichols player. All Sporks can do is keep sending out stuff, but as long as he has some P-38s, and he does have 3, according to my observer mode, so anything that comes out of the garage will just get immediately shot down.
Well, he can't keep sacrificing those P-38s to the base AA.
And there it goes. Heathen gets the first victory off Sporks. So I'm going to go ahead and restart my game to see if observer modes are fixed. I'm going to send a log to dev, so I'll rejoin voice chat for our next game in just a moment. All right, I'm back. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask you what your thoughts are on that game, since you just played Sporks' Gallant a few times.
Well, I thought he had it at he had Heathen didn't have air support or air superiority at a certain point, and then all of a sudden it just went south for Sporks. I don't know what the turning point was, but he lost air superiority, and Heathen was able to push units all the way back to his towers and just hold there and take them out.
All right, I can pretty much agree with that. So I think turning point, at least what I noticed from that game is Sporks didn't really go. So even though Gallant is a very well-rounded division, he's got a very good air unit, a very good ground, a couple good ground units, and he's actually the infantry division for the Germans, and he gets a very strong bazooka trooper. And I did not really see that the entire game. I saw like only a couple troop trucks from his base. So as soon as Spork started getting out some of these troop planes, spawning infantry, there was really nothing to really stop that. I mean, he kept sending out tanks as sort of a way to keep pushing the lane, but over time with the P-38 plus the troop plane infantry, there's just not much you can do. So maybe if we saw a little bit more from the bazooka troopers or anything like that, it might have been a little bit easier to defend the lanes and keep the equilibrium in the center. Give Sporks more time to hopefully get more loot drops, because we did see Heathen in the mid game got a lot more loot drops than Sporks did, just purely because he had the air superiority, the P-38s, and the infantry equilibrium in general. It's a lot harder to get jeeps out when your base is being pushed by infantry. They'll just auto attack the jeeps and fall pretty quickly. So we are waiting for, I believe, Heathen. Let me go ahead and double check he's all right to play.
Well, I think we're going to see a lot different plays on this next map because of the size of the map. It's a much bigger map. It's got 4 lanes, extra bases, right? We're playing Stronghold next.
Yep, I do agree. Stronghold is probably my favorite map. It has the most interesting ways to deal with it. Like you can either choose to ignore the side maps, or you can choose to ignore one, or you can do a lot of different things with the map. Um, so let's see. I'm still trying to wait on Heathen to get in. I'm trying to see if he has any issues. All right, looks like both players are in, just waiting for them to be all readied up, and we'll be starting in our match 2. Waiting on the ready up. All right, we're good to go. Match 2 of Heathen versus NotSporks, or Sporks, whatever you want to call them. Maybe Sporks.
Well, it depends. Are you maybe sadly not Bradley or?
Maybe. Not sure yet. All right, so I'm gonna, since you're a little bit newer to the game, I'm curious, especially of your opinion of this map. I'm curious what you usually tend to do, and I don't know how much game time you have on this map. I'm curious what you usually run
7
for.
hours.
Well, that's fine. It's I mean, I can just talk about what I do, but I think it's a lot more interesting to get a more newer player perspective as well on this map. So, what do you usually do the first thing on this map?
I would definitely be sending troop trucks out to my secondary base to get more forward momentum from that short lane directly into their base. Put a lot of pressure on one side, and then put a couple of tanks out on the other to just balance it out, make them feel pressure from both sides, and then start setting up my defenses, my artillery to cover lanes. And what do we have here? We've got the same. So maybe a little bit air superiority, get some people out on the drop points, and just see what the other person's plan of attack is.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, I can't really argue with that. That's definitely a sound strat. A lot of people like to spam. I mean, both players this game did spam a couple troop trucks into their side bases to add that more pressure, as you're saying. Another thing I see a lot of players do is they'll have a artillery unit just right here next to the middle, I guess the corner closest to the middle of the map, base AA, because it can actually add more pressure to the middle lanes as well. But yeah, we see Heathen is adding air superiority pressure to that middle lane. He is very smart in how he's microwing the strafe path. If you notice, the side base on his side does have a base AA, so any defensive fighters that would come out from Sporks to stop this plane from continually pushing would just easily get shot down by the side base AA. And that goes the same for Sporks' side base as well. Heathen has a fighter on that side, but he has to be very careful not to get too close to that side base.
Yeah, those planes like to run off after other planes and then just die.
Oh yeah, that is that's always my nightmare every day. Again, Sporks is seeming to go straight for the early pushes with the tanks this time. Heathen has a defensive artillery on the, I guess say from my angle, the bottom lane, and it's gonna stop these tanks very easily. He also had a defensive tank, so just add more pressure and a more defensive capability allows the offensive tanks that are just auto microed on the lane to instead attack with towers and or the artillery to attack that defensive tank. But we have two tanks on the other side, and Sporks got the first drop, I believe, of the game, so he's got a lot of offensive potential to go on early in this game.
Yeah, but Heathen has his troop transport out, so he's dropping bodies in, and that's going to give him that stronger infantry, like we said in the last round.
Yeah, he went very early with the troop transport this time. That's another interesting thing. Being a Nichols player, it's very interesting to see where other Nichols players decide to put their troop transports on this map. Having the side base, you have actually kind of more base AA coverage than your main base a lot of times, so you can, if you want, spawn them on that side base as well, and without really too much issues, especially if you add another sort of, I guess, ground AA unit to protect it. So he's just deciding to stick with the normal straight defensive troop plane base, troop plane.
They are at his secondary base for me.
Oh, they just moved there. Sorry. Yep, they just moved there. There's no bug this time, but I was just rambling on. Speaking of rambling, I'm gonna ramble about Sporks getting another loot crate. This time it was on Heathen's side of the map, which is very rough for Heathen. That's like the kind of the only breather about this map is having almost a guaranteed drop if it spawns on your side, but he didn't even get that. Yeah, Sports really likes the tanks.
Yeah, spawning them in groups and just sending them out, letting them go. He's not even microing them or anything. So he's just trying to put pressure, it looks like. But on the other side, the other lane, Heathen's troops have moved up, and they are, well, they're dealing with an artillery right now, but they had been at the gates.
I will have to check that out because I was so focused on what was happening in Heathen space. But all right, speaking of Sporks' base though, we are seeing a little bit more troop trucks than the last game. I guess Sporks wants to have a little more infantry in equilibrium. He realizes there's more troop planes, even though they're not spawning from the middle lanes like these troop trucks in his base are sending their units to. It still will continue the pressure on Heathen. He'll have to worry about that infantry more. He's sending more ground units to combat those, excuse me, those stronger infantry, and we still have not seen AP-38s yet, just because he's more focused on the ground units to push these lanes out.
Yeah, it looks like he has 4 troop transports up now, troop planes up. So he's getting a lot of infantry spawning, but they're all coming out of this side base, and then they're pushing up and getting taken out by these set of artillery inside Sporks' base.
Yep, defensive artillery is probably the most useful thing, especially for a Nichols player. I usually have 1 or 2, like right at the start of the game, just because I like to get those early P38 upgrades. Heathen's doing a lot more what I actually do in these games. Despite him not having a P38, he has 5 troop planes already. So we're just gonna see that infantry, as you can see right now, already approaching Sports' base through the middle lane and the side lane. What's very cool about having the troop planes in the side lane while having also a lot of infantry in this this top middle lane is the artillery will lock on him to only 1 lane at a time generally, unless he spawns a couple more. So that'll just allow the infantry of 1 lane to at least keep pushing and keep the equilibrium back until he either has a fighter defensively or another artillery of some sort.
Yeah, and Sporks got his first tank destroyer out, but he wasn't managing it at all, so it was just sitting in the lane trying to take out infantry, and it wasn't doing a very good job of that.
Yeah, the issue with these larger maps, even for the best players, like these 2 players are very well experienced and good, is you can be the best player, but sometimes it's very hard to manage all the things you have all over the map. I mean, you can see Sporks' middle right lane is just doing its best with pushing, as well as everything else. It's just hard to be able to maneuver everywhere without having some vehicles or such to die just by leaving him a lane.
Some defensive ground AA from Sporks coming out to defend his tank destroyer. Looks like he's going to micro them all up together and try and push.
Yep, for sure. And we also see a P-38. It's trying to target this tank destroyer, as you might have said. But we do see a couple of ground AA. 1 ground AA is already scary for a P-38, but 2 of them, I mean, it's too risky to really go in. You're pretty much going to lose the P-38 no matter what. It's going to be a suicide mission no matter what. The P-38 does have the possibility to take out a ground AA unit, but we're not completely sure yet if that's worth it to Heathen to just sacrifice that P-38 and maybe not even get the ground AA units. As I was saying there, the P-38, that single ground AA just got left alone in the lane, so it was auto aggro to continue walking down the lane, and the P-38 saw that and took the opportunity to go straight for it. So that's 1 less ground AA to worry about, and I'm sure Heathen, he sees this one other one in the middle with the tank destroyer next to it, and I'm sure he's going to be a lot more brave to take out that ground AA if he sees it. Sporks, though, he is sending a lot of ground units to this I guess bottom lane. Got the tank destroyer in the front, maybe not the best idea, but he will probably micro the tanks in front and then put the tank destroyer at a better range so he gets away from this artillery and just keeps shooting at whatever is left over defending the base.
Yeah, Sporks' defense is still holding strong. He's keeping all these infantry out of his base. And so all of these troop planes are spawning, but they're not getting anywhere. I don't know if he needs to move them back to his main base so that they spawn up the center lane.
Yeah, so that's the problem with infantry. I know Heathen especially, he always has trouble figuring out the value of infantry. He always talks about how the reason why he usually goes for these strats like we saw last game with the less troop planes, more P-38s, is he just tends to just get them constantly dying when they reach the base, and he sort of tries to figure out how to deal with that. But we're seeing right here, it's very difficult to have artillery push, or the infantry rather, push without any support from anything else.
And we're seeing some artillery and some tanks and a little bit of strafing from some planes taking on Heathen's side, pushing up towards the base. So maybe that's going to give them the armor that they need to pump through.
Yep, for sure.
I keep seeing players spend money, but I don't actually see any new utility coming out. It's all just troop transports.
Yeah, I think
6 now.
Yeah, there's definitely bugs happening again. I mean, this is weird. I wasn't having any issues yesterday actually like this, but might have you try to. Well, I don't know how to figure out what to do with this, but maybe if you want to, we can restart the stream and try having you run the observer mode if you feel comfortable doing that after this game.
You could do that, or I could just start the lobby. I don't
You
know
know
if
what?
that. Well, no, because the
That's
lobby gets handed off to the players, so I don't know if that would help.
yeah, you can try starting the. That's a good idea. You should try starting the lobby next round, and we'll see how that gets better. But yeah, I mean, I just see tanks shooting at infantry doing nothing. Artillery's just sliding across the map.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at your screen and my screen, and I'm seeing entirely different stuff.
Yeah, so it's I don't know, weird, bizarre stuff.
Yeah, we can drop it and start up a stream again for the next one.
Yeah,
Just short intermission.
Yeah, for sure. We'll maybe if we try having like a test match where players just load in for like a couple minutes and have you post the observer mode this time and see if that solves any issues. This is very unfortunate. Do you have the stream key stuff?
I do. I have it all set up.
Yeah, we can. I mean, I don't want to just have people watch this. I think it's probably better if you try to. I'll end the stream and then you can like cast your point if you feel you can.
Well, keep going for a little bit. Let me get this set, but yeah, I should be good in like 2 seconds.
Okay.
Gotta grab that stream key.
Yeah, just let me know when you're ready to hit the start streaming, and I'll stop my stream.
I think if I just start streaming, it kicks you off.
Oh,
right?
okay.
I think last person. I might be wrong about that, but
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never really done this.
do. there. Bye. All right. Go ahead and kill yours, and let's see what happens.